All right, so we have the minimal functionality of being able to log in with a particular user, or then log out, and then protecting some access, some navigation based on whether it's logged in or not. How about when you register, right? So ideally, when you register, well, not only a new user is created, and obviously we already have the capability of once we create them, navigate to the profile page, right? So we want that, but that person we just created should be automatically be added as a currently logged in user, right? That there should be logged in automatically, and for that, right, we gave you some code here to handle registering, right? I don't know if it's register. Okay, no, not here. Maybe here. Maybe not. Okay. All right. So let's create it here. So what we'd like to be able to do is change the register logic in the controller so that it's going to do this check with a username and whatnot, check to see if the user exists, check for the username, and then notice it's going to call user service create user. Okay, so we're going to change that. Instead, we're going to replace that with register, because create user is a little bit too generic. Okay, it's like allowing anybody to be able to create any user, right? So that could be misconstrued, right? That use case might be misconstrued, right? Because an admin should be able to create users, right? Actually create users other than themselves, right? So registering has a little bit much narrower scope, right? I am registering, yes, a new user is being created, but it's me, right? As opposed to me creating just any user, right? So let's refresh this. Let's change this a little bit, and instead of this being create user, we'll call it register. I'm creating register, which includes having a username and password that we want to create in the database, right? Once it comes back, hopefully, it comes back with the user, brand new user that we just created. But I don't really need the user, right? I don't really need the user because I'm going to log in the user on the server, so it's going to live in the session over on the server. There's no need to have the user object, not at least here anyway, right? What I'd like to be able to do is we're going to return and just go to the profile. We don't really care for this user object. Instead, we're going to send you to the profile page, and check logged in is going to make sure that you are indeed logged in. And if there is indeed somebody logged in, it'll let you go into the profile. Yes? Of the currently logged in user. But that's a server-side mechanism, right? Not a client-side mechanism. So let's implement this register on the user service. So on the user service client, let's implement register. Register. And in the function of the same name, and it's going to take as argument an object. Well, it doesn't need to be an object, right? It could just be, well, all right, it's an object. So this is a user object, and it's going to have a URL, and it's going to maybe have the name register, and it's going to post to that URL. So it's going to be return. So it's going to be return $HTTP post to this URL, and it's going to pass in, I guess, the user object. That's good, user object. Okay. All right. And when it comes back, I'm going to say then function, perhaps the new user. We don't really care for it. So this is response. and this is going to say return response.data. So on the server side, let's go to user service server. Right, let's have a register here, register, implementing a function of the same name. That's going to take into as a parameter the user object, include username and password, which we encoded as an object, user object. So user object. We're going to retrieve it from the response.body. And we have a function that allows us to create users. Right? We're going to say user model create user, I believe, and it takes as argument a user object that has a username and password. And here we're gonna handle the fact that yep, we just created this user, and this current user is the currently logged in user. Okay, so this user that just was added here, we can say request dot is it login, I believe, user. I think it's like that. Request dot login. So this is notifying a passport, right? That this is the currently logged in user now. Right? Now this login function is actually a asynchronous function, right? It needs to go to the session and make sure that it updates, right? And I think it has a callback, I believe, it has a callback function. And this function tells us the status information, whether they were successfully logged in. And here's where we can notify that the user was successfully logged in. We can say response.send status. Okay. All right, so let's try this out, see if this blows up. Let's put some breakpoints here. Okay. All right, and so let's refresh. Let's refresh. So we're in the register. Okay, so this is something easy to test. Q register. It goes in here. It's checking to see if the username exists. Okay, so the username does not exist. So it's coming back to the register object. Let's see. We have the register object is here and it has, the user object is coming back as undefined. Why would that be? In the client, am I not receiving this? Let's put a breakpoint here in the client side. Let's see if we go to the register controller. Source, oops, we got some errors here. Compile, templates, what's going on here? Login, client, HTML. Maybe I had this from earlier. Oops, let me run this again. Do I have some errors here? Register, no. Okay, let's go into the register controller. Let's see, views, user controller, register controller. And here is where we're going to try and create the new user, right here, I believe. So let's see. Register. We don't need this. Continue. Okay, so we're here. And let's see what we got. We got the new user. We're going to step in. We have the user object. There it is, cube, okay. We're going to do an HTTP post to the URL. So the URL is, I believe that's correct, API assignment graduate register, and we have a user object. So we are sending something over. For breakpoint here in the response. And let's, okay, and let's do a go. So we're now here. And the body, response.body. See how important it is to step through your code? Okay, start again. Continue. I think let's, okay, start. Refresh. Oops. Okay, register. Register, new user. And then let's put a breakpoint here. Go, okay. Continue. Okay, we created the new user. Right? With the data, it's correct. Let's see. QQ, very good, it has an ID. Okay, so it's going to do login here. Continue. There we go, we got a status. We log them in. Continue. So it comes back here. Uh-oh. User is coming back empty. Actually, we don't need it, right? We don't need the user. Right? We don't need the user. We just logged them in. We logged them in. The server knows that the user is logged in. Right? So when it navigates to the profile page, it goes and checks for the logged in. Right? Notice that it checks for logged in. There it is. It comes back with a user. Right? And we are successfully navigating them to the profile, right? Because we have a logged in user. Make sense? Right? All right.